Hey class, I wanted to do a weekly feedback video for you for week one, where I get to talk to you a little bit about some of the things that I observed over the course of the week and share some information with you. So first thing I want to say is, generally speaking, this was a very good first week of our class. For many of you, this is the very first time you're taking an online class, and I recognize that. Online classes are certainly different than classes that you take during the regular school year. And because of that, it might be a little bit more difficult to understand how to navigate through the classes and so forth. So I put together some points here that will hopefully help you guys out. Before I say anything, though, I wanted to talk with you a little bit about what it was that we worked with you so much on this past year at Bishop Gorman High School, and that's the A in the GALE acronym, which is accountability. So you guys know when you were freshmen, we focus on the G, God, relationship with God. Sophomores, we focus on the A, which is accountability. This upcoming year, juniors, we're going to be focusing on excellence. And then as seniors, we'll be focusing on leadership, right? So GAEL, our GALE acronym. Well, you guys just finished your sophomore year, and the entire focus of your sophomore year was on accountability. And we carry that theme through our course. You are being held accountable for making sure that your work is being done according to the instructions that are provided to you in every single case. In other words, the onus is on you to do the work correctly, and to make sure that submissions and everything else are being done according to the instructions that are provided. There's a big jump that we make from sophomore to junior year in terms of the expectations, in terms of the quality of work, the type of work, the seriousness of the work, the difficulty of the work even, and you are being held accountable to a much higher standard than you were when you were sophomore. So kind of keep that in mind as we go through this, because that will help, I think, frame some of this discussion, okay? So first and foremost, I wanted to address this first point where I say manage your time well and do not wait until the last minute to do your work. This is an important one. I was noticing as the week went on that I had maybe 10% of the students submitted work before, say, Wednesday. Maybe about 25% submitted the work before Friday. Went up to about maybe 35–40% on Saturday, but we still had upwards of 50% of the class that didn't submit any work until we got to Sunday. All right. Now, that's an issue in some ways, and the reason is because obviously if you have a problem or some question that you might need answered, I may not get to your question. I'm certainly not going to be checking my email and hovering over my computer on a Sunday, when I'm spending time with my family and so on, right? So you certainly don't want to do that. I would recommend a much more, I think, diligent path, which would be finding some time throughout the week to do the work, and working on things. So if you have questions that come up, you can ask them during normal business hours that we operate within the school, and you'll get a satisfactory answer to your question. All right, so that's first and foremost. Do not wait until the last minute. That's just good time management right there. The second point, understand your technological capacity. All right, you need to understand your technology, whether you're working on an iPad, whether you're working on a laptop or a PC, whether it's a Mac base or some other type of a machine that you're working on. You need to be proficient in that technology. In other words, I'm not going to be proficient in your technology. You need to be proficient in your technology, because submission according to the directions is ultimately going to be your responsibility. Had a number of students who would say things to me over the course of the week. I'm trying to submit to turnitin.com. It's not going through. It's not accepting the file format that I'm trying to submit within, or it's not working on my iPad. What do I do, right? Well, again, you need to understand your technological capacity and sometimes be a little bit creative here, right? If it's not working on your iPad, well, maybe you got to switch to a different platform. Get in front of a laptop, get in front of a desktop computer, maybe try a different browser. But again, ultimately, this is going to be on you. It's not going to be my issue if you're not able to submit anything according to the directions that have been provided, okay? Also, related to this, be very careful before clicking submit on Turnitin, because your submissions are final. You are not able to resubmit something once it has already been submitted. I had a couple of students who emailed me asking me to delete their submissions because they submitted the wrong file, or whatever the case, right? In some cases, I was able to get to it because I was near a computer and I was able to do it at that time, but I tell you what, if you submit the wrong file and the deadline comes and it expires and I'm not able to delete your submission, well, guess what? You're going to be stuck with the incorrect assignment that you submitted, and if you do submit something correct, it's going to be graded at 50% credit. All right, so again, this is on you, accountability, making sure that you are attentive to what you're submitting and understanding your technological capabilities and submitting according to the directions that have been provided, including file formats and everything else that goes along with that, okay? All right, the third and final point that I have here on the slide, it talks a little bit about this as well, where I say to you, read all the instructions that I give to you. I've provided you with comprehensive instructions to every assignment, and I got a lot of questions over the course of the week via email where it was kind of obvious that the student didn't take the time to read the instructions that were provided and was asking me some very basic questions that had already been answered in instructions that were given. All right. What that tells me is that you're not really tuned into what's going on in our class. All right. So we want you to be tuned in. We want you to be proactive. We want you to make sure that you are doing your due diligence before you even attempt to do assignments. You understand all the parameters of the assignment. Okay. I have some sub-points here as well. In some cases, I provided video tutorials for you. It was obvious to me this past weekend that some students were attempting to work in the Google Classroom and asking me questions without even having watched the video tutorial that I posted for you on Shobi about how to work through the Google Classroom. All right, so that's an important one right there. Also got tons and tons of questions about whether or not we need to work cited. It's clearly stated in the assignments that you need to work cited for your weekly vocab essays and for your exams. All right, anytime you're using any information that's not yours, in other words, if you're taking information out of your textbook, if I ask you to use a classroom appropriate image on a slide, right? Well, you're finding an image on the internet. That's not yours. You need to submit a work cited for it. Right? This is consistent with everything that we do here at Bishop Gorman. The last point is also related to this. You know, on the interactive exams, I tell you that there should be a minimum of 150 words per slide. And the reason for that is that the more text you have on a slide that is your own original text, the less likely you will have a high Turnitin score, right? I had a number of students who copied definitions right from the textbook or bodies of text right from the textbook, right? In other words, instead of writing a summary, they just took little pieces of the text and inserted it onto their slides. Well, you know, they had extremely high Turnitin scores from doing that, and that's not doing what the assignment is asking you to do. So it's 150 to 250 words per slide. Use as many of your own words as possible. In other words, paraphrase, explain in your own words, put things in a different way that's being said from the textbook. We want you to summarize, synthesize, and really kind of explain ideas, not simply copy ideas that are coming from the text. And when you do that, what you'll notice is your Turnitin scores are very, very low. Right? I had a number of students who submitted interactive exams where the Turnitin scores were less than 10%. Right? So yes, this can be done, and yes, you are being held to a high standard with this. If you look at the instructions that I've provided for you with regard to the way that these are graded, you know, you lose points the higher your Turnitin scores are. So make sure that your Turnitin scores are nice and low so that you're able to get the maximum amount of points possible for these assignments if you do them well. All right, so that's really all the feedback I have for you this week. The good news is week 1 is in the books, and after this, you guys kind of know the way this works, and you've had now some feedback on the way week 1 works. So you'll be able to make the appropriate adjustments to make sure that you do as best as you can moving forward. If you didn't perhaps get grades that are, you know, what you're looking for week 1, again, it's only 1 week. We have the entire week plus a final. We have the entire 3 weeks plus a final exam to go through in order to get your grade to where it ought to be. But again, please work within the instructions that you've been provided in order to get the grade that you feel you deserve for this class that reflects the amount of effort that you feel you're putting in. All right, but again, this is all on you. It's being accountable, and you're being held to a high standard, but I know that you're up to doing it, right? You signed up for an online class for a reason because you said to yourself, you know what, I'm self-directed, I'm motivated, and I can do this, and I believe in you, and I know that you're capable of doing this work, right? So God bless you, and let's do this. And if you have any questions, please email me. Once again, the email address you should be using is lurso@bishopgorman.org. Do not use the BGHS Cloud address. That address does not get checked. All right. Well, that's the bell. Have a great rest of your day, and we will talk to you soon.